Vulcan and Prince see it. Stixay gets rooted under Torso. Manages to out-survive the damage, but first blood has been drawn by River. Still surviving. Vulcan flashes forward to see if he can get single auto. Who he lands the hook. A double kill for Golden Guardian.
Don't go. Wait for repairs. Yeah, look here.
Wait, I want to base it.
Wait a little bit, guys. We got him. Ooh, Trevor.
Come in, I can TP.
Blabber still making that face at Dignitas, but Santorin's doing the same, tries to go in with a Q, but Berserker flashes out of it. Root to burn down Diamond, and Cloud9 are going for more. Santorin taken out. Rich has to leap over the wall, and Tomo flashes over it as well. Double kill coming in for M&S. But here's an attempt to stand against him. Nature's Grass gets a root onto 2, but the answer back onto Contracts is just too good. Ignar coming out of stasis, next to be smacked by Wild Turtle. And the pressure from Energy's all too good. Some heavy poke onto Wild Turtle, though. He has to be careful. And eventually, Contracts has fallen. Dokla, the last one to remain for Energy. Yes, Ignar has a respawn, but it's TSM putting this one in the books. They're hooks into the second round robin.
Revenge ready to collapse. He wants double lift for Quinn. The Magnet Storm under the carries of 100 Thieves, and double lift is already down. Quinn follows right after, and Boostio's the cherry on top. Some days going nowhere, and Evil Geniuses just racked up 4 more bodies. He shoots out the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but Balulu's not going to pull the damage he needs just yet. He's chasing after Yon, who wants to cut it out there with a volley, flashing away for a little bit of extra. But Lulu gets him. True Shot Barrage over the shoulder, won't do anything to follow it up. Pioshik goes for the flash dredge line, but it will not connect. Summit's at half HP, but he's still got the equalizer. Balulu wants to get away, but he's been equalized. They'll trade it 1-for-1 at least as Immortals try to get themselves away before they lose anymore. But APA is fearless. He's peerless. He's absolutely destroying Immortals, and he won't take no for an answer.
Bing bong.
Thank you, Raz.
What are you talking about?
Don't worry about it.
I feel like you did this to me last time, and I was like, we have to guess what curse thing Raz just said. But this time it was just noises.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's no difference. Yeah. Chaz was just making
I was
noises
going
all
to
the
say,
time.
you're losing your game. Welcome to LCS Waiting Room. Let's pull up the standings for today.
Does it go this way?
On.
Oh, the other way!
Wrong way.
Okay, my bad.
Evil Geniuses LG is still in sole possession of first place. Cloud9 and kind of surging Golden Guardians at 8-3. Team Liquid Honda in sole possession of 4th place at 6-5. And then we have a 3-way tie for 5th between 100 Thieves, Dignitas, and TSM. NRG in 8th, FlyQuest in 9th, and Immortals Progressive in 10th.
One hit on that Golden Guardians point, they started 1-2 in their opening week.
Yes.
Yep. And so they have been 7-1 since then, which is pretty impressive. They are definitely one of the hottest teams in the league, actually.
Yeah, it's weird to say that they're underrated because I don't necessarily think they are, but when we look at teams that have been a little bit more hyped up because of how dominant some of their games have been, I think Golden Guardians have had a lot of shaky back and forth mid games that have been kind of questionable. Some of their more recent wins, though, have been a lot more strong.
Yeah, and just even taking a look at NRG or FlyQuest placement, they're just, well, NRG is like 2 games away from Team Liquid Honda. FlyQuest is 3 games. Obviously, just basic math. But the point is, a lot of teams are just talking about playoffs. And the fact that we now have, basically going into next week, 2 weeks away until playoffs starts, a team's entire fortune can drastically change. And so even though they look like they're 9th or look like they're in 7th, I suppose, it's like that can change very quickly. So you got to keep, I think my eyes would be on FlyQuest and NRG for that reason.
Yeah, everything looked right to me there except for FlyQuest.
Yeah.
Like in terms of, I was like, oh yeah, top half, that looks like the top half. Bottom half, that looks like the, oh, what's FlyQuest doing down there?
Yeah, what are you doing down there?
Yeah, but based on the way they've played this split, they'd obviously, everyone deserves what they have currently based off of the stage games, but it's just a matter of what we think is left in the tank for these teams.
Perception and how they're playing. We polled the community, I believe, LCS Discord, and also had a call for Twitter questions for today's waiting room. So this is the first, and it actually ties into exactly what you were just talking about, Jet, from Pirate Code at BillyYo4.
Ooh.
Top 3 and bottom 3 at the end of the season.
Okay, hot take. Top 3 very easy. which is...
Yeah, there's already a 2-game
Yeah.
separation between third and fourth.
the three teams we all know. EG, C9, Golden Guardians.
Yep.
The bottom three is actually really hard. Immortals, okay.
Yep.
And then what? At this point, like, it feels like TSM's rallying. FlyQuest, are they gonna, to your point, are they really gonna stay this bad? NRG has, with these players, historically finished top half of the league. They have rallied late in seasons before. You really gonna put them 9th or 8th?
There's 7 games left in which to switch places as well.
Yeah, so it feels really hard to predict the bottom 3, actually.
Actually, if we can get the standings up just quickly so I can even see.
Yeah.
Because, like, visualizing which team I think is going to grow. Because, like, I think FlyQuest would be a team that would grow and not be a bottom 3 team.
So those are the teams I
Yeah,
said
but they
right
need
there.
to gain, to not be bottom 3, they need to gain at least 2 games on TSM in 7 games.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is that, like, for me, for teams like NRG and FlyQuest specifically, because I think we've kind of honed in on them as a team that had a really, really rough start. That cluster of 100 Thieves, Dig, and TSM all at 5 and 6 is also kind of a huge blocker. That race for 8th and 9th is actually going to be very tight.
All right, guns to our heads. We gotta start giving answers.
So my answer is pretty quick here. Immortals for sure. Then I think it's going to be NRG. And it's so tough, but I'll give it to Dignitas because beginning of the week, I would have said,
give it to him.
give it to them. You know what? You know what? Here you go.
Just because you hate Rick.
Because I was gonna say TSM, but then I feel like their fortunes has just been changed with Insanity's play.
I agree. So I'll take yours, but I'll swap FlyQuest in at 8th. I don't think that they will climb enough, but they'll make playoffs barely.
That's actually what, like, I also think Dig are gonna fall, but I think because of the start they've had, and they have so little wiggle room now. I think FlyQuest still continue to look a lot better, but they aren't able to rise enough.
I'm going to go Energy, TSM, and I'll...
Whoa.
Yeah, okay.
Immortals we're all going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
All right,
No faith
next
in-
up,
no
let's
faith
see
in
the next
insanity.
question.
I just have...
No faith
You're
in
phrasing it negatively.
All right,
Just
here we
have
go.
faith in FlyQuest.
Okay.
From our good friend Molecule on Twitter at Molecule Lol. You should check his stuff out.
Good
it's
follow.
really good. What 2 teams can improve by swapping 1 player between each team?
Oh, just like a...
Yeah.
Ayla and Vulcan.
Wow.
Crazy.
No, I'm trolling.
That's insane.
I mean...
That is a tough one.
It's the improving the team
Winsome?
that you're kind of swapping away the.
But you have to, it's between 2 LCS
Yeah.
starters. You can't bring Winsome
Oh,
off the
he
bench.
just said, hold on, between each team. Nah, it's,
One player.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the Winston Vulcan one. I had a similar question to this. And mid-season trades, like, basically don't happen in LCS just because everyone has, like, different contract structures and it's not the same type of mechanisms we have in, like, the NBA. But I was going to say, it was Santorin and Piosik.
Oh.
I feel like you swap those 2 and the teams fit better.
Huh.
Santorin to control the chaos on Team Liquid, and then Piosik
Piosik to
to make
contribute
things
to the
happen on
chaos?
Dignitas where things aren't
Yeah.
happening.
So I actually have one also for Dignitas. Treats and Diamond. I feel like there's plenty of shot calling in, like, with Santorin and Jensen and Rich. There's, like, plenty of leadership there. And I think just in lane and mechanically, Treats might be a small upgrade for Diamond. But I also feel like Diamond does have a voice on things, and you could put him on Immortals, and a team that's really struggling can maybe lend some direction to them. I don't know. Throwing that one out there.
That one I don't feel comfortable to say because I don't. That one's a tough one.
I mean, it's hard to say, like,
Yeah,
this will make both teams better, but just, like, give me, like, a neutral trade.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I like the Piosik.
It's actually a really hard question.
It's hard.
Because you're trying to envision a player in a different environment, which is going to change so many things about the player.
Licorice and Fudge, because Licorice has been on C9 before.
Yeah,
I can keep going.
I got a solid one.
I got
I've got a
ideas.
solid
I have no
one.
idea.
Look,
All right.
Do you?
Boogie and Closer. Put Boogie on 100 Thieves. Now you have another Korean speaker to work with Quid, and someday you have a Korean
How is
top
this
side of the
better for
map.
TSM right now? Closer's not been it.
No, I think Closer's great. What are you talking about? No, I do think that he struggled with some games, but like this has happened. Okay, this pisses me off. Every single regular season we downplay Closer, and then suddenly, whoa! Final 2 weeks, Closer's insane. Playoffs, Closer's the best jungler.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a surprise! I don't want to hear this.
No, but that's how it. I fully agree that is Closer to a T. He has very slumpy regular seasons. And then he's usually really good in clutch moments and in late game. But
And to his defense, this time around too is like you started with Nuke Duck, then you went with Quid, Like, there's just a lot of change within this mid lane on the team.
I don't blame him, but my point is, he had, when I looked at the start of the week, 0.6 kills and assists at 14. It is the lowest all time. He is not doing anything in the early games, and I don't think it's changed. I think it's actually gotten worse. So I don't see how that would help TSM, is my point. If you take his performance currently and stick it into TSM, I don't see that.
I just think he's one of the best junglers in the league, and I think that you put him onto that team, it just improves greatly.
So you think it improves TSM because he's better than Boogie, but Boogie being able to talk to Quid makes it fine.
Yeah. That'd be my change.
See, my counter argument to that is
Thieves hater.
Quid has not had lane pressure in a few of their games, right?
Yeah.
It is depended. Obviously, he's defaulted to Azir in a lot of these, but I think Boogie needs that. He needs someone to have prio in lane because he is often going to issue farming to help his lanes. Anyway, producers are actually
oopsies later on the machine.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Goat Jedi in Discord, which is, what champions have a 0 pick rate in summer so far do you think are actually good? Actually, I have a really easy one for this that I think has been banned against Insanity, which is TF. I think he only works in certain situations.
That is a 0% pick rate in LCS, right?
Yes. Yeah. I assume it's in LCS, right? Because obviously, like, BDD has played it. And
that would be harder if we did global, too. Because I was going to say Zach. I think it's been played in other places, but...
Let's just go LCS.
It's LCS.
Then we can have real answers.
Exactly.
TF is my easy one. Because I do think, again, doesn't work in every single comp. But I like the champ. I like what it does. Automatic side lane pressure if you play it correctly and you have the good comp for it. And you have a good lane matchup. Obviously, again, these are a lot of caveats. But I would love to see someone like Insanity pull out the TF.
I think APA will play it. He played it like multiple times in NACL. Although with the static shiv nerf, it's slightly weaker.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pull up.
You can always go like RFC Lich.
So
I'm just trying to pull up what has been played.
While you're pulling that up, I'll just say one that's kind of already been played in the LEC once, which is Xerath by Humanoid. So like we've been seeing a lot of challenge with range. Like we saw Azir pretty consistently, and no one's willing to pick something that has the range to challenge it in mid to late game. And I think Xerath is a great champ, so.
Karthus bot.
Yeah.
That is what I was like.
Yeah, we actually just haven't seen Karthus.
Yeah,
we haven't seen Karthus anywhere, but Karthus bot in particular, rampaging solo queue.
Man, we haven't seen Victor.
That is also crazy.
But
Okay, now you're just picking the easy one.
Victor.
We haven't seen Senna.
I think we should.
Like, I don't want to see Victor because Victor is boring.
We haven't seen Tom Kenny.
Is Senna good right now?
I don't know. Senna's always good.
Yeah,
kinda.
Senna's always good if you just have the right team.
She was
usually
better. I feel like, or was that spring? I'm losing track.
I guess Enchanters have kind
Regardless.
of dunked on Senna. Like, Senna was a lot better when Enchanters weren't a bot lane thing.
But there are so many different combinations with Senna that, like, if you are just a good bot lane with it,
Yeah, maybe
I
don't know.
make it work. But yeah, I chose Xerath. I think that's an easy one. So
It's
I like
tough.
your Twisted Fate.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's tough to pick bot lane champs only because we've still relied so heavily on having bot 2v2 prio, like regardless of enchanters. We see like Ashe coming back for that reason as well because she just shoves. All right.
I'll take Ziggs, but it got picked once.
Yeah.
But it's like
Oh yeah,
maybe-
Ziggs
that's
would
what
have
made
been
me
a good
think
one if we
Karthus.
hadn't seen it.
yeah, that makes sense to me.
All right, this is a question I think we all saw coming, which was if each LCS org was a taco,
I am
what
surprised.
taco would they be?
Well, we saw this coming
yes,
because
I don't know enough taco variety.
Well,
All right.
this is the reason we saw it coming is 'cause someone brought this up as one of the ones, and then we all said that's a dumb take because like the taco variety is like I don't know how to associate it to.
The asada taco,
Yeah,
the
like, what's
different
that-
beef type of taco.
How is that different
I sourced Mama Rosa for makeup.
Okay, give us some tacos.
Yeah, so these are the tacos that she gave
Should
me.
we try
that
and
can
match this
slot
up?
in.
Like, we need to write the... You have 10 tacos?
I have 10 tacos
All right,
that she
okay,
gave
okay.
me.
Write this down, whatever.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Get in
so
there.
Can I get the pen? I don't know if...
I don't know if it's possible,
We're
but you put,
actually doing
I don't think
this. It might
Tagboard
be.
has telestration.
you put your production on the
We're
spot.
obviously
you
going to
just-
change
I
this
think you just
graphic
into
off to just
production.
whatever's back here.
Oh wait, no,
The circle of suck is there.
Exactly, the old circle of suck is here, so I can draw.
Okay, so we have
If I
carne,
can get this like a default background for this as well, it's better. So, give me
Carne
the
asada.
tacos. Asada?
Okay.
Yep.
Assad,
Why am I the writer?
You have beautiful handwriting.
Yeah,
guys.
it looks
Crushing it.
wonderful.
good enough.
Pollo,
Pollo, okay. So chicken.
chicken tacos.
Okay, chicken. So beef, chicken.
Yeah.
Al pastor.
What's that?
Pork.
Yeah, it's a pork.
Okay.
I really like Al Pastor.
Pretty
Okay.
wrong, but
Dude, every
okay.
time I go to those food trucks
Alright.
and they got like grilling with the
Chorizo.
pineapple on
Chorizo.
top and
There's
they're doing
actually
the
10.
slices.
Oh, they give you a background.
Wait, what's chorizo?
All right, my problem is not that there's
Birria?
not 10 tacos. There's plenty of
Birria?
tacos.
Wait, what's
That's like a
chorizo?
beef.
That's another type of beef? That goes back to Mark's point.
I can't spell this though.
Yeah, my other point is how do we know which taco is
That's
which,
what I'm
which
saying
is
is
So
like-
give me one more. We're just gonna do 6 and we'll match them up.
All right, I'll go lengua, which is tongue.
What is that?
Mark is tilted.
Yeah.
I can't spell. I'm just
Do
gonna
you
say-
not like
feel like you're
tongue? It's
listening to me. Are you something
L-E-N-G-U-A.
Please tell me.
Tong. We're done.
Raz, I'm saying my problem is not that there's not 10 tacos,
Rosa
or
is
that
laughing at you in
culturally
the
and
makeup
like
room
flavor-wise,
right now.
there's not big
I'm
differences.
out of space. I can't.
Can we please listen
So
to
we got-
Mark Zimmerman,
I
guys?
just don't get
C9.
how we map them to a
Me
team.
too.
Like I don't understand that part of it.
Can
Not
we
that there's
please-
many
Try, Mark.
tacos.
GG.
They're making the attempt, Mark.
100.
What is this? Just is this just a taco tier list at this
TL?
point?
No,
You
it's
just
Wait,
make-
not.
I'll say this. I did also ask Rosa for advice because I made this point. I was like, I have no
Okay.
idea how to match tacos. I feel like we shouldn't spend that much more time on
I don't
this.
like chorizo, so they're 100
But
Thieves.
I did say.
I don't know what a
What do you
tongue
think
is.
about chicken?
She did say Al Pastor is like the OG, the classic.
That's C9
And I
right
feel
there.
like that's C9.
So it's
yeah.
the classic.
Al
so-
Pastor is the
C9,
street
okay.
tacos with the shaving that they're doing. They're
Okay.
cutting it. That's just amazing.
We're
Yeah.
going to wrap this up quickly.
All
so
right, yeah,
I
we need to
believe
wrap this up in
EG
another 10
is
seconds.
Asada.
Okay, I can believe
I
that.
will say chicken is kind of boring.
Golden
so
Guardian.
that's 100 Thieves.
Chicken is
Okay.
flavorful and risky.
Yeah.
Risky. What is salmonella?
I'm going to say
Yes.
Team
cook it
Liquid
right.
is kind
you
of
getting
both
your
of these.
tacos
It's like a,
from?
I'm just saying
a
you
giga taco.
can't get sick from
Golden
beef. You can get
Guardians
sick from
is
chicken.
Where are the
All
fish
right,
tacos?
beautiful.
This
Moving on. Thank you
no
for
fish,
that
no
question.
shrimp tacos.
You've excited all the taco fans out there.
Yeah.
I really haven't. I've
We
either
spent-
so people that don't like tacos hate the segment. People that
Yes.
do like tacos hate the segment. People who like-
People who want us to talk about League of Legends
Tacos.
hate the segment.
well, I did one analogy: boring chicken.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So yesterday, APA stands for Always Plan Ahead. Not APA, although the Yip Yip is I believe an Avatar.
Yes.
reference.
Appa yip yip.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
but his
Appa's dad.
parents were here to support his LCS debut. They won. I thought his Tristana game was like kind of undersold.
was
Like,
good.
yeah, we talk about how you need to have the same energy or way to see the game, and he was going in, man. And you know who else likes to go in? Kyoshik and the rest of TL.
I think so too, and it was the style he did it too. This play here in the post-game interview talking about Solo was just trolling, and so he's got to hit him with what you would do in solo queue. You
Yeah.
throw a dance at him, you throw some emotes. He played these dragon fights very well, looking for resets multiple times. And to Emily's point, there's one play, I think it was right before this, where he jumped in right as he got the trash talk too. But he
go.
jumped in right as Pioshik threw a hook, and like obviously
Yeah.
they're not communicating; they're just seeing the same thing. So that speaks good to me, the fact that he does actually work with his team, even if there's a lot of things that he can improve on.
Yeah, I mean, I think he himself called out in the post-match interview. There we go.
Let's go.
He's the only one with that helmet. He called out himself in the post-match interview. He's like, yeah, my laning was
Thanks a
not
lot,
good.
Kangas, for shooting this one. Shout out
this
to him.
comes from
Shout out to
Kangas.
Kangas.
Yeah, that is the Champions Q helmet.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
That dance could be better, but I appreciate the energy.
this is great. I want more of this.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
It's
But yeah,
just
like,
keep playing.
First of all, he got the matchup that I really liked. I thought he played well. In that last Dragon team fight where Zoe just ults in, tag him with the satchel, jump on top of his head, get the reset. Like, he played out the team fights confidently, even though he has mentioned that he was nervous, which is why the laning phase didn't go as well as he planned. But that was his debut. He knocked it out of the park. Good shit.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone who sent us Twitter questions, Discord questions.
You didn't like the taco question.
We didn't get to all of them because we spent too much time on tacos. Jack,
Oh darn, we ran out of real topics because the tacos? Dang it.
Dang.
I heard you have an EG breakdown.
Yeah, I do.
I think following up on CS.
Well, no, this was
Remember?
actually so. This was the game yesterday against 100 Thieves, and I just found it so interesting. And this is what makes me think they're legitimately good. And obviously, JoJo tweeted this afterwards. He's on point with the NBA memes. But a lot of analysis in the LCS in the past few years, I feel like, between teams is about dragons. And like, if we can get the right dragon setup and we win the dragon fights, like that's kind of how we win the game. But then I feel like the good teams do a lot in between dragons.
Yes.
So this was really cool because there were actually 2 dragon fights that EG lost.
Yes.
But they grew their gold lead by 6,000. So this was the first dragon fight. And you can see, based on the 100 Thieves team comp, that it's actually pretty good in these team fights. In this fight, they get access onto JoJo and Unforgiven. Even though they don't get the dragon, they do win the fight. And you're thinking like, man, maybe this is a classic like Doublelift Coach Kane game where they're just going to win these team fights with Azir Jinx and take over the game. However, Quid makes just a laning mistake. After the dragon, while his team was pushing bottom lane, he thinks he can greed an extra wave. He obviously can't. Armeo kills him. That sets them behind a little bit in tempo. But then after this, there's one small play here where Busio is just going in for some deep vision, does get interrupted by Ayla, and this moment right here prompts a big play that's going to happen down on bot turret. So we're just going to speed this up. They know that Busio's recall is going to be super delayed so that people can't defend Quid under this turret. They immediately dive, get the kill, eventually clean up the turret, and throughout all this, the gold lead is growing and growing and growing. They have a small lead at the next dragon fight, and still, just with the way the team comps match up, even at 5,000 gold, like these fights aren't that easy for EG if we're thinking strictly front to back. When there is a front to back setup like this, the fight is not good for them. It's not a disaster, but they lose the dragon, they lose the fight, but then they go immediately back to pressuring the map. Prior to the dragon setup, they did place this one ward, and this is literally all they need to start the next series of events. Jojo teleports in behind Doublelift, they kill Doublelift, now they have a man advantage, so they kill the turret, they get another kill, and bam, 6,000 gold after 2 lost dragon fights, but huge plays in between the dragons, playing with their tempo and playing with their map pressure, which is just, those aren't the types of things you see from teams that aren't at the top of the standings. And part of this is their laning stats, where they're also just winning individually. You can see across the board, Revenge, Jojo are the 2 biggest dominant laners. These are ranks within their role, but they are forward more than any other laning duo. They are CSing almost better than any other laners in the league. Revenge is second place in 2 of the categories, Jojo first in basically all of them. So they're just an incredibly active team, not around the traditional things that teams focus. They're just very good at creating pressure and gaining gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was also cool talking to Jojo about this yesterday in an interview where I was like, what, you know, how does the setup work? And he was like, I don't know, man. We just have map pressure and we were able to put vision down and they have to be scared to check us. It's all kind of
instinctual. Like none of that stuff is super easy to train. It's like, you just kind of need to know that you have tempo and communicate it quickly, and then you kind of have to form all your plans in an ad-lib fashion. So they're just very good together.
And they take on NRG in our second match. Obviously, our first match today, though, is Dignitas versus FlyQuest, which is a really big one, actually, for both of these teams, I think.
FlyQuest just needs to start winning games, right? For the first 4 weeks, it's all about, okay, we're making improvements as a team, we need to get better, etc., and it's all for the long run. And because there's 8 teams against playoffs, not a lot of pressure. Still really important to get in the upper bracket because you just have really poor fortunes if that's the big run that you have to make in the lower bracket. But now, they don't even know if they're going to make playoffs. Playoffs? Playoffs? So they need to start winning. And this is the team that is in their way in the middle of the pack. So they need to start winning now. Thankfully, they had that 1 week where they went 3 games in a row. But I feel like this is where they need to showcase that level of improvement after the loss versus 100.
Yeah, I think also for Dignitas, they want to keep that momentum up. They've had some dropped games after the 5 and 4 start, 0-2 this week. I don't want to see them go a 0-3 week, just when we were beginning to believe in them.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there are a few highlights from the Golden Guardians game that I thought were really good in terms of how Golden Guardians came into this game and they were like, we really want to set them behind early. And something that I think teams have kind of identified about FlyQuest is that they are generally going to play their early game very passively. And that doesn't even necessarily mean through their drafts, because their drafts, I think, are a completely different conversation. But in terms of just things like this, like contesting the wave, even when you might actually mess up your own CSing, stuff like that, where they've recognized that FlyQuest are possibly going to kind of hang back, not necessarily contest a lot of these 2v2s. And then additionally, the bot lane dive that comes after this, kind of as a result of them getting pushed in, Spica has to spend time down covering anything that could happen bot, and then River comes in with Kindred anyway. Part of this is just unlucky. Like, obviously, you can credit Golden Guardians for the execution, the way that they juggle turret aggro, but part of this is also luck, right? Like, if FlyQuest is able to get one of these plays back, it ends up being a lot better position for them. So it's just they have so little wiggle room now in the standings that stuff like this really screws them over.
And I do love the point that FlyQuest is just so consistently simplistic and passive in the early game that teams are more and more willing to play like animals against them. And just like take as many risks as possible because that's how they're going to put them in a deficit that FlyQuest can't come back from.
Yeah, and they do need to change up, I feel like, give a different angle in how they play. Because in the early game, it feels like teams recognize they can either punish the jungle and spica or then go towards the bot side of the map. The last time they played versus Dignitas in the first round robin, it was FlyQuest with a huge lead. It was a 3K goal, like it was a 1.6K goal lead, but they had Rift Herald, they were making the push happen, they scaled better. Like these things happen, and then they made that mistake where you heard Vulcan in the interview afterwards saying that when circumstances change within a fight, we don't tend to adapt, right? That's something that they needed to work on, and I felt like this game was an example of that.
Oh, look at Rich. Let's look at Rich. He's going to close the gap.
You can also look at Tomo. Just like giving you options
Rich.
here.
Oh!
Nah, man, Rich is cooked. I'm over it.
Yeah?
Already?
I was the big. I can't bail on it.
He just got a kill on Quinn.
Yeah,
How are you
that was
gonna
how many
bail?
weeks ago, though?
On Quinn.
Well, you don't want me on your team? Fine, I'll go back. You know what?
Yeah.
Rich is the best player in the world.
There it is.
Oh my God, there he is.
Hots Faker.
Hots Faker on your screen right there.
One other thing I did want to talk about in regards to FlyQuest is it's a quirk that they've only had undefeated weeks or winless weeks. And I
Thus
wanted
far.
to take a look at their first 6 losses. I love looking at goal graphs, so we're just going to look at some goal graphs here. And pay attention to the 0 line. In all of these games, they were never more than 1,000 gold ahead. They had a near comeback against Golden Guardians, but ultimately they were losing the early games and then were unable to come back. Let's go to week 3 when they won all of their games. And again, go to the 0 line, which is now lower on this graph. But notice how, like, in 2 of those games, they have 2 of their biggest early game leads of all, and they're never really more than 1,000 gold behind in at least the first 16 minutes. A pretty substantial comeback against Team Liquid, but even that is only like 2,500. So they were actually 3 improved. To me, these are 3 improved early games. They're not amazing early games, but they're slightly
These
improved.
look exactly the same to me as the ones they lost, where they had up to 1,000 gold leads, and they lose those gold leads in 2 of their wins. They go back below 0.
I'd say
and
that's
then
a
they
slight
bounce.
improvement. Anyway, and then this one against 100 Thieves is also the weak mid game. I don't have a graph of all 12 of these.
Only
Let's
one
make 'em
game
all.
is a clean gold lead. It's the Immortals game. They have one.
It's the legend change. The 2,000 gold is better than the 1,000 gold from the previous graph.
There it is.
All right.
But either way, the point of all these gold graphs is they kind of suck early game.
Yeah, that's what I took away
Yeah.
from it. I'm like, damn.
That's a good takeaway.
But Dignitas have the second lowest, I think, goal difference at 15 in the league. Let's see who is picking Dignitas or FlyQuest.
This was from
today.
yesterday when Mark was
Also,
trolling.
yeah, this is M&S
What do you
calling
mean
Mark
trolling?
out
Mark,
for
Did he get
picking against
punishment
him
by
from
us?
yesterday.
all 5 games wrong yesterday.
Unlucky. We go again today.
All right,
fine.
let's
All
see
right,
what you have
let's see
today.
if there's any redemption here.
Wow, I think we're on to your
M&S called me
game.
out, and you know
Oh,
what?
no.
M&S, I'll do it again.
Immortal.
All right, don't test me. You
Wait,
know that,
you're
you know the
different?
crazy goofy picture?
You're
I'll do it
literally
again,
opposite.
too.
I did not realize all 3 of us were going to be exactly the same.
Boring.
You did not pick Immortals over C9.
Why wouldn't I?
All right.
M&S
And
called me
NRG
out.
over
I
EG.
saw
Yeah.
the miscommunication, the friction on the analyst desk, LC9. All right, I saw the problems. It's going to emerge in the game today. They're going to int this one.
You
Wow.
also talked about earlier
game.
about Golden
Trap
Guardians being like how they've only lost once after their first 3 games. Now you
Okay.
think that TSM is gonna win?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Could happen. Insanity's back.
All right.
Oh, hell
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Oh, this is the taco tier
Thank
list.
you. Wow. I hope you're
Yeah.
happy because I feel
This
like
is
a lot
why
of
we
people
do our
aren't.
jobs, Mark.
Yeah.
I hope you're happy because you ruined my day. All right? It's the happiest day of your
no.
life, and you ruined mine.
You hate tacos?
I didn't.
does.
All right.
I like
really
tacos.
hates
I eat
All right,
tacos. We had tacos for breakfast.
we need to
You know
get
what?
into
Tacos
game.
were tacos.
All right, we'll talk more about tacos off screen. It's time to throw it to the show open and then casters.
Mark hates tacos.
Apparently.
I love them.
welcome to the LCS this lovely Friday. What a way to end our week with a match kicking off between Dignitas and FlyQuest. I'm Gabby, I got Azael. Good to see ya, how you doing?
I'm doing well, good to see you too. We got Dignitas versus FlyQuest, should be a pretty fun one. Both these teams, you know, obviously not where they would want to be. Dignitas, I do think, is more towards where people were expecting to be. FlyQuest obviously have a lot of ground to make up if they want to get towards the top of the table, where they were really kind of forecasted to be by almost everyone. But there's not a lot of time left in the regular season here. You know, we're almost at the end of week 4. There's only 2 weeks left after this. So, you know, if FlyQuest doesn't start winning now, they're probably not going to start winning at all.
And you could hear it in the interview with Spica, for instance, after their first victory week, where they could feel that pressure of the 0-6 to begin with, and then now we're at the reset with that second round robin, and if they go 0-3 to kick this one off, I'm sure that pressure will re-emerge for this team. Dignitas on the other side also had a very difficult week. Evil Geniuses and Cloud9 were their first opponents, so they're looking to try and scrounge some kind of win to bring that energy forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're going up against opponents like that, it's maybe expected that you are starting off 0-2, but, you know, they did start off the first round robin on a positive note. They were above 50-50, went 5-4, which I think is a lot better than people were thinking would happen from Dignitas after how bad their spring split was. So we're going to see if they can get a win here against FlyQuest, who's sitting at 3-8, which is honestly pretty shocking, especially after they won last week. They had that 3-0 week last week. People were starting to think, okay, maybe they've actually turned a corner. Everyone has been hearing about how they're doing well in scrims. Spica talked on stage in an interview about how he feels their win rate is really high in scrims. We are getting a quick restart on picks and bans. Someone didn't get into the lobby, so that is just being relaunched. It's the same couple bans that are going to be thrown down, so we'll be flying through this here pretty quick, and hopefully moving on into game.
Yep. Zooming on in to our champion select. Dignitas taking away Milio as well as the Xayah and Tristana. We've seen a lot of Tristana from VicLa specifically that has gotten some criticism, but is such a strong pick that already was emerging on 13.
I know those guys.
And now on 13 come through more. Hey, some familiar faces that we will be watching in the next game to come.
Sizing up the competition, I see. Dignitas going to go with the first pick, Ivern. Yeah, Tristana in general has become very, very popular on 13-13. Across all leagues on 13-13, it's second highest presence of any champion, so it is mostly being played mid. There has been some flexes towards bot. You know, some people very rarely also do even play it towards top in specific niche matchups. I've seen it top lane played into things. You know, it's like Kennen can work in that matchup. So it is pretty flexible, is really powerful in this match. Ivern, though, also really, really strong, but not that many people have been playing it. So it's good to see more people picking it up. We had seen Contracts bringing it out. We saw, I believe, Armeo play it as well. So Santorin going to be bringing out here for Dignitas. And VicLa back on Annie duty. Annie Viego is a good combo. You know, it's so much of the upfront burst to try to help get that first reset, but honestly, it feels like in the LCS, this kind of whole year, we have not been seeing Viego do very well. I feel like almost always it comes out and it just kind of loses.
Yeah, the attempts for the junglers to kind of step into that carry position seem like they're usually answered the following week with going back onto those facilitators, you know, the Maokai, the Sejuani, and the like. And for Spica specifically, taking a look at how he has performed on the Viego, it wasn't a win the first time around, but only one game on the pick thus far this split. And now paired with the Renekton, that I think Impact, when you're looking at the wins that FlyQuest pulled through, he was a big part of that, and specifically on the Renekton, able to assert so much pressure in the side lanes and just soak up a lot of damage. And Dignitas will have to deal with that threat on the FlyQuest side, but bringing a different look to themselves, the Rumble locked in.
Yeah, Rumble getting really popular. We've seen a number of different people bring it out, both in, you know, kind of more hard counterpick matchups. We saw Revenge actually bring it out against, I believe it was a Malphite. That matchup really bad for Malphite. We saw Summit playing in this exact matchup yesterday where he went Ignite, Comet, went really, really aggressive against Solo, I want to say it was, and got very ahead in that 1v1. So, you know, there are some pretty powerful matchups for Rumble. Also can be flexed towards mid. You know, I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy, but I have seen some Rumble jungle and solo queue as well. And Ivern can potentially be going down towards support, but definitely expecting it to be Jayce mid, Rumble top, and Ivern in the jungle for Dig. And I assume the FlyQuest are going to work under those same assumptions. Rel, another good flex pick on this patch. We haven't seen Rel jungle, I don't think, in the LCS just yet, but it is really popular in solo queue. Also, obviously, a really, really strong support these days. So is a powerful ban.
Yep, ever since the changes came to Rel a few patches ago, there was that emphasis on the duality of her roles between support and jungle. But again, highlighting that support position in the LCS, Diamond already has had 3 games on her. It's been a comfort pick for a lot of the supports coming back into this engage meta, so stripping that away as an option for Dignitas. And continuing down the bans, there is a focus on that bot lane, whether it be support or the bot lane position, to take these picks away, but Kai'Sa getting locked in for FlyQuest.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Nautilus here from Diamond. I do think it works well when you are playing with Rumble, have that lockdown for the equalizer, have set up as well, potentially for this Ashe. Could obviously go a lot of different directions, but it is going to be Braum, so more about the counter engage, more about shutting down some of the offensive pressure that FlyQuest is going to be looking to put on, because they've gone pretty heavily towards early game, mid game picks. You know, they want to play a lot of dive. It will be interesting to see what the last pick is going to be here. Are they going to go more for 2v2? Are they going to be going for setup, you know, for the Kai'Sa? Like, Nautilus Kai'Sa is incredibly common as a pick, but Braum does answer that fairly well. Blitzcrank coming through, really interesting from Vulcan. So it is a very aggressive look. There are not a lot of dashes over on the Dignitas side. So when you're actually looking at a lot of their champions, Ashe is going to struggle to deal with that. Jayce can potentially struggle, even Rumble, Ivern. Like, none of these champions actually have an easy way to just dash out or avoid those Blitzcrank hooks. So that could be difficult for them. But Blitzcrank from behind can be really, really trash. So we'll see how FlyQuest is going to do in the early stages, because the early games have not been very strong so far in the LCS.
And so with this early game focus from FlyQuest and then Dignitas on the other side, bringing some of that disengage with the Braum and the like, what do you make of the draft overall?
I mean, I think it's really interesting, right? We are going to see the Ignite Rumble again here coming through in the top lane. I do think a lot of pressure on FlyQuest to get things done, especially on the top side of the map. You know, utilize the Viego, the Annie, the Renekton to try to get some sort of pressure, to try to create picks, to try to create action, potentially in Rift Herald fights. But on the same time, I think Dignitas have a really strong composition. I do think they have pretty decent engage, you know, with the Ashe arrow. They have really good team fight in the mid game as well, with Jayce, with Rumble, with Ivern. So I think they're pretty evenly matched. I think it's just going to come down kind of just how these teams perform in the early game and the mid game.
We'll have to keep an eye on it for Dignitas and FlyQuest kicking off this Friday. And with them being somewhat close in the standings, there's really only a couple games differentiating a lot of these teams. You can make that hefty jump up if you're someone like FlyQuest to start to close that gap. But taken to the Rift, it's all the more important to rack up these wins. Of course, top 8 do make it into playoffs, but if you manage to avoid those bottom 2 positions, you do get that second life in the bracket. And I know a lot of these teams do care about that.
Yeah, getting upper bracket is a really big deal, but at the end of the day, it's just going to matter most what your form is going into playoffs, because it is relatively easy to get into playoffs with the top 8 teams all making it. Of course, you definitely don't want to be in the bottom 2 and miss out, but you know, even if you get in 7th and 8th, whatever, and 6th, if you are really on point, you know, if you're playing very well at that point, it doesn't necessarily matter. You know, you can make the run. You can always make those miracles happen, as we have seen before. Both teams, though, just kind of fanning out level 1. We see the red ward down on the enemy red buff. Both red buffs getting warded out, you know, by either side. Defensive ward here as well. So both teams just trying to scout out where the start is going to be. With Ivern, there can be a lot of counter jungle shenanigans. So you definitely want to have an idea of where this guy is going to be starting. Is he going to choose your buff or anything like that? And Jensen, you know, is just kind of sitting around here trying to track Spica, does spot Spica, and actually drops that Raptor's ward. So they'll have full information on exactly what he's going to be getting done.
And with that early game focus, it's all the more important to establish this early vision, get some intel on where the junglers might end up going. Because Ivern, surging in popularity despite the nerfs that were applied on 13.13 to Brushmaker and Daisy, is still somebody that has the toolkit available to set up and really empower the rest of the team.
It's also really interesting. I feel like Jensen has been kind of changing up the style of champions that he plays. You know, over the last couple games, we've seen some different stuff. He played a Tristana as early hook, is going to force the exhaust, and it's an exhaust on Vulcan. So that has to be a misclick actually from Diamond. They were fairly stacked. I think he just meant to click on Prince there, but Prince going to get those Halo Blades autos off, and that is actually pretty bad for Diamond. Already down low, going to have to be popping his potions, is down the exhaust, but you know, back to the point about Jensen. Jensen has been such a mage player throughout his career. You know, we saw him bring out Tristana yesterday. That was only the 2nd Tristana game of his entire career. remember, he has played hundreds and hundreds of pro games. He has, like, I want to say it's nearly 700 pro games played at this point. He only has 5 Jayce games total. He only has 2 Triss games total. So, like, he never played AD champions mid, really, in the past. So this is a little bit of a different page for him. I don't know if he feels that he's forced to in this meta, or that he just feels like, you know, he was always strong on these picks, but it just didn't, you know, weren't right with his team. But it is interesting to see someone, you know, this long into his career really kind of swapping up the style of play.
It makes me wonder what his focus as a player is currently. Is he trying to expand that champion pool and try to be able to keep up more effectively? Is he doing this purely to facilitate what the team is looking for? I know he did just have an interview recently with Travis Gafford where they were talking about the mid-meta, LeBlanc on the static shift specifically, even with the nerf, how it was pretty annoying to be going against it and just see the wave get absolutely annihilated. So the impact of some of those changes, but didn't seem to feel one particular way or another about this current meta. So
yeah,
I think more to be seen in how he develops.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? You know, will he stick with this throughout the rest of the split? Would he stick with this towards playoffs is going to be a big question for me, because his most played AD champion all time is Lucian, right? And he only has 10 games compared to the 90-some on Orianna, you know, 60-something on Azir, 60 on Syndra, etc., right? So he really has not played a lot of those. And then beyond Lucian, he's got a couple games on Yasuo. He's got 5 games on Jayce. He's got 2 games on Triss now, with having played one this week. So it's really not been champions in his wheelhouse at all. And I do think these are champions that you have to really execute on, because when you're playing things like Jayce, when you're playing things like Tristana, you've got to execute on the early game stage. Jensen in trouble now, though.
Stepping up, leaping to the skies, knocks back VicLa, down about half HP. So Jensen circling through the river and ended up keeping all his summoners in the moor.
Why did VicLa hold his stun that long? Like, it felt like he wanted to try to hold his stun for Spica to get in range of a W flash or something, but he ended up holding his stun so long and then just gets knocked away and doesn't even get it off. So that felt like a pretty big misplay from VicLa to me. And now going to be able to utilize this pressure. Santorin just goes up towards top side. He's going to be able to back up Rich here, steal away the Krugs. Jensen getting very low, but does still have a biscuit in pocket. And Rich is going to continue trying to bully this matchup.
So Spica feeling some of the hurt of the time that he spent mid and not really able to grab anything from it right now, was technically leaning in that direction, but Santorin still hovering on the top side, having punished Spica in his own jungle. Impact, though, now losing his flash and more on the top side. Ooh, can we talk about Rich for a minute? Drawing that first blood on Dignitas and what he has been able to do for this team.
Yeah, Rich has been an exciting player. Joining the league, has been bringing out different picks, aggressive picks, and is able to get that first blood onto Impact in this 1v1. You know, when you're playing with that Ignite, you want to be able to play aggressive. You want to harass under tower with these Electro Harpoons. He has the overheat. He gets him with that first Electro Harpoon, has the overheat for the additional damage on the auto attacks, and then as Impact steps up to farm those range minions, that's where you're most at danger in these melee versus range matchups. So he just flashes in, gets the auto, gets the Ignite, and that is enough to take down Impact. It is really difficult when you fall behind in these kind of matchups too, because you are just always going to get pushed in. You're always going to get harassed on every single range minion, and it can become really difficult to be useful as a Renekton from behind.
Though FlyQuest, to offset some of that pressure on the top side, are focusing down on this dragon here at the 6-minute mark. Able to burn it, no step up from Dignitas. So evening it a tad and trying to not let any leads become too insurmountable for the Dignitas side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is just about a 700 gold lead right now. Not the end of the world by any means, but still pretty significant this early on. We are seeing these two mid laners trading back and forth pretty aggressively. It is first strike on both, so when you are playing first strike versus first strike, you always want to be trying to poke off that buff as often as you can. You know, get that trading advantage, get that gold advantage. And Jensen looking for an angle here with the Shock Blast. Santorin is in the area, so he knows he'll have that support. You can see Spica is over on the Wolves, finishing up that clear. So I think both mid laners going to be feeling pretty safe at this point. You can see Jensen is cheating towards the top side of the map because he has no wards on bot side. And with them taking away the red buff, this should be a bit of a giveaway that Spica can only kind of be on that bot side of the map. You know, if he's not going to be there contesting his red, he's got to be down on the bot side. And I think that's why Tomo and Diamond are moving out from lane. They're trying to see, where the hell is Spica? You know, where could this Viego be? We don't want to walk up all the way. They are going to spot him now.
Now have the eyes, throw out the volleys. Spica flashes to get more in the sights of Prince and Vulcan, but even after being exhausted, able to get knocked down. But Tomo also falling low. Ignite burns Prince here, getting the kill credit. But a scrappy fight in the bot lane, all off of Tomo and Diamond searching for Spica.
Yeah, they got the read that he's there, and Prince needs to be a little bit careful as he does get tagged. Diamond trying to step forward, but Prince is 6, so you're not going to kill him now. As long as he gets plasma on you, he can always ult back to safety, and Braum's not going to burst through that. Santorin was spotted moving down the river, so they are going to be able to stay safe, but nice play from the Dignitas bot lane. They knew Viego had to be down there. He wasn't answering his stolen red buff on the top side, so they search him out. They do get the kill in the 2v3.
All the while, Rich now in the 2v1 up top. Impact has the dominus, equalizer thrown down, but the burn won't be enough to finish him off. Rich seeing if he can take Spica, but Spica coming on through with a heartbreaker to make this a good play for FlyQuest on the top side.
Yeah, I kind of want to see that one more time because Rich was overheated before he got his equalizer down, which is one of those things that can really, really come to bite you when you are playing Rumble. So I want to see, like, did he overheat before Viego showed, or did he actually mess it up? Because in that 1v2, if he got the equalizer down really early, that fight could potentially look very different. And it's something you always have to watch out for when you are playing Rumble. Overheating at the wrong time can be devastating, and it allows them to get that kill back. It does not go to the Renekton, but let's see it one more time. So he's sitting very close to overheated. He wants to keep his heat high. Okay, so he overheats, then Spica comes through. So this one's a little bit harder to blame him on. I think it's just good timing on the gank there from FlyQuest. The equalizer does come down, and as his Ignite comes back off cooldown, he uses it onto Spica, but can't quite get the kill because Spica gets a level up off the kill, plus he's going to get the heal from taking over that Spirit. So you can see a little bit of frustration on the face there of Rich. Wanted to keep that snowball rolling and is not going to be able to as a result, but Santorin will grab Herald. So they're going to be feeling pretty good about things overall, and they are still in the lead over 1K.
Yeah, increasing that gold lead for sure, and that Rift Herald will make an opportunity in the future for Dignitas to continue extending that lead unless FlyQuest have something to say about it. But Rich returning back to lane, still a bit of time before the teleports are back and available, but not much longer until they are officially unleashed. Bot lane for Dignitas left alone in the lane currently, off of a reset from Prince and Vulcan.
Yep, you can see that Prince just finished his static shiv, so he's going to be back out on the map. Vulcan threatening a move towards mid. He is playing that Blitzcrank. I will say it is pretty annoying playing against Ivern as Blitzcrank because Daisy can get in the way of a lot of your hooks. So he does have to contend with both Daisy and Braum in those 5v5s. But if they can hook really anyone else besides the Daisy or the Braum, it's going to be pretty good because it is very squishy members on the Dignitas side. Even Rich can be very vulnerable if he gets hooked in. You know, he is going kind of a bit of a tankier build. Looks like he's you know, not going towards like an early Zonias or anything like that. Potentially just rushing Demonic. But we'll see exactly what he does want to go for.
And, I mean, when looking at those targets, whether it be Rich or someone else that Vulcan could try to go for, I mean, I'm just looking at Tomo on this Ashe, very immobile, but that puts the pressure on Diamond and the like to be able to protect him in the team fights to come. Right now, a lot of hovering from FlyQuest in the bot side jungle to get these deeper wards extended and trying to lock on to where Santorin might be going.
Yeah, trying to track where Santorin is as much as possible. He is going for the Moonstone build, so going kind of that full support build. We had been seeing more like Night Harvester and things like that. Nice flash hook.
Flashes, gets the hook, the knockup, and more. An attempt for Jensen to get on top of VicLa, but cannot pull him down. So 1 kill to the FlyQuest side.
Yeah, great job there by Vulcan. Makes the roam happen. Have been hovering around mid for quite a long time. Does have the Swifty boots, so wants to be active on the map. Finds the flash, finds the hook. Jensen did not have flash, so could not respond to it. And that's going to allow not only the kill, but a second dragon here for FlyQuest. So starting to get some more purchase in this game.
Now 4 members of FlyQuest down here on the dragon.
Rich is coming as well.
Coming from mid. Teleport as Rich makes his way to the party. Stun up onto Spica. Tibbers is down. Tomo has to flash out of the fight, and Impact is coming from the jungle to get one last swing onto Diamond, grabbing the kill and wanting to go for more. Jensen finds himself in the crosshairs of Prince here, but the equalizer blown down by Rich to try to zone off the rest. 3 taken away by FlyQuest, pushed off the dragon, and Dignitas punishing the play.
Yeah, good roam down there from Rich. He does arrive. He's not playing TP, so Impact gets there first, but Dignitas do win out on that fight. Getting that final kill. The Root Caller lands onto their target, who's in that equalizer. He gets shredded down. Dignitas will be able to take this, and now VicLa TPing back, but Santorin Flash Shield is going to be able to help turn it around. So it is flash for flash there. Santorin saves his mid laner. I'm not sure if Jensen would have gone down if he had not flashed in, but either way, is going to be able to get the flash in response from VicLa, and they get the TP off him. So no TP's up now for FlyQuest. We can watch this one more time. FlyQuest first to that dragon, but VicLa was already chunked low, and we can see Vulcan Hex flash in onto Tomo, but Diamond is in between him and those targets. It didn't look like the Tibbers actually landed. Back to live, though. Vulcan looking for another play.
Trying to get the knockup, does manage it onto Tomo, which means Spica feels all prepared to go with the Heartbreaker. Diamond busted on back, double kill for Spica. Good setup from FlyQuest.
Yeah, great game so far from Vulcan. 006 has been involved in everything. Held the hook there the whole time. He just popped W, walked past the Braum, knocks up Tomo. They get the kill there. And then when Timon uses that jump back to his ally, just gets hooked right back in. Congratulations to Jensen, moving 10th all-time in the assist, closing on that 3,000 mark. Pretty crazy stuff. But it is going to be Dignitas dropping the Herald on top side. Rich and Santorin up here. Impact and Spica are in the area. For sure it's going to crash. The question is, can they stop it after that? We can see Vulcan is moving up here as well, so FlyQuest for sure do not want to allow that full tower to go down, and they won't have to.
But still some plates that Dignitas were able to grab off of that crash. Only 30 seconds remaining before the plates fall. So Dignitas was up a bit in gold at one point, but starting to minimize that lead.
Yeah, you can see the Hex Flash play again here from Vulcan. Hex Flash into the brush, run up. No Q tag. I'm not sure if it was on cooldown from Diamond, but you got to kind of try to tag that Blitz as he's running in. He didn't have his ulti. I assume his Q was on cooldown. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. So Vulcan just runs straight in, hits him, knocks up Tomo into the air. They get that first kill, and then he saves his hook the whole time because he doesn't need to use it for that first kill. Now going to hook in Daisy and looking to actually just try to kill that off. It is 50 gold, and it does reduce a lot of the power of Ivern if you can kill it off. So even though it looks a little bit funny there, especially if your jungler's around and you're just like smiting this thing down and bursting it down, Ivern kind of sucks without Daisy.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you were saying it earlier, Azael, how a lot of those hooks can be blocked by Daisy, so why not just kill her off? So then you leave that opening. VicLa won't be golden for long, but does have Spica nearby and a wave.
Yeah, it's going to survive, and he was under the tower, so just needed to buy that time. Diamond blocks the hook. Well, can they turn this around? Doesn't look like it. He wasn't able to get the passive onto Vulcan. You know, when you do get hooked in there, it's so important as the Braum to try to tag that Blitz with his Q, especially if Blitz is using the W on the run-in. He's going to get the natural slowdown from that ability. If you tag him with the Q, then all of a sudden Ashe can maybe follow and try to chase him down and punish. But Vulcan seems to be able to get in and out of these fights pretty easily without being punished, so has been big for them. It is going to be first tower, though, taken by Dig on that bot side. The top tier 1 is also very, very low, so Dignitas close to collecting a couple turrets here and trying to extend that gold lead back to where it was.
Many members of FlyQuest leaning towards this top side so they can try and take this second Rift Herald for themselves, but the pings coming through from Dignitas. Jensen using his teleport to usher towards this mid tower. Wards are good by FlyQuest. Diamond first to throw out the Glacial Fissure, lands onto Spica, but the zoning's good from Fly, so Dignitas, they're not going to force this one.
Yeah, they felt really hesitant to walk in there because they know that they don't have any vision, and Vulcan is going to be over the wall looking for a hook. So if you give that angle to him, he's going to grab one of your carries. The fight is going to be instantly lost. So they needed to wait for Diamond to allow him to go first with the shields behind him. Vulcan, though, getting tagged. Jensen.
Crystal Arrow does manage to stun him up. Takes a decent amount of damage, but no follow-up.
Yeah, Jensen not wanting to commit his flash, not wanting to go in over the wall to actually get in onto him. So it is just that chunk at the end of the day, not going to mean too much. But it does buy them time up on the top side. So another turret going the way of Dignitas, back that 1.3k gold lead that we were at for Dignitas quite a while ago. So they are still looking pretty good, but we'll have to see where the game goes from here. Jayce now kind of outplaying those side lanes more heavily. You know, Rumble definitely can be pretty solid in the side lanes too, and it was the Demonic Embrace rush that I was talking about. I haven't seen this a lot. Almost always, you know, when I do see Demonic Embrace come in, it's like as a second item. Generally, we're just seeing Rumble still rush their Mythic. So a little bit of a different take on it here from Rich. Does make him more tanky. Was potentially worried about, you know, getting burst down by Viego Renekton as a combo, or maybe getting 100-0 by Annie in a fight or something like that. So wanted a bit more HP, wanted a little bit more tankiness. So gonna try something a bit different here.
handled himself well in lane, where yes, there was that attention spent by Spica, but Rich still maintaining that farm. They did use that first Rift Herald to get that turret open on the top side, and now Impact with teleport available will be ushering that way forth. There's one hook coming through to try and burn down Daisy, so heavy tools that Santorin has that have now already been drawn and expelled. So Dignitas turning their eyes over towards the dragon. Teleport from FlyQuest will allow them to entrench on both sides. Rich looking for a good angle, has the equalizer. You can always use that to separate some of these fights. But Spica and the rest of FlyQuest know where he's lurking, uses the Scryers, and that's enough to try and push some of FlyQuest off. Dignitas really also want to keep an eye on where Vulcan may be coming from to try and hook in. Dragon's already down to 50%. Jensen coming from the bot side.
Impact's gonna look over the wall here.
Diamond gets grabbed by Vulcan, but not the one you want, and Prince has fallen low. Equalizer dropped, and Rich focusing his sights onto Impact. Impact gone. Spica coming through with a Heartbreaker, and the Dragon has been reset into the pit, and FlyQuest already backing off of this one. It's the 2-for-1 so far. No jungler for Dignitas, but nobody on the Dragon anymore.
Yeah, FlyQuest, you know, they have some low health bars there, so they want to get Prince back to base, let him reset. They dropped Herald mid in the midst of that. Well, dropped Herald in the river and it went mid. So they are going to be able to get multiple towers here and pull into the gold lead themselves. They should be able to reset and go back to the Dragon as well. But look at Impact. His angle here on this fight was really, really good. They'd already killed off Daisy. Impact gets in from the side onto the back line, so Tomo and Jensen are just pushed out immediately. And then sure, Diamond is not that premium target that you want to hook in, but when he's split from his DPS, and when Impact is zoning out the back line like that, it's just a firing line there for FlyQuest, so they're able to take out multiple members. They kill off Santorin, they kill off Diamond, while their carries are not connecting on the other side. So it's really good frontline play there from Impact without overcommitting, and now Diamond gonna get hooked in again.
Yeah, the commitment of the hook onto Diamond means that he flashes towards the team. So one summoner taken away, and Dignitas responding similarly to the way they did last time, focusing back onto the Dragon. They've got Santorin once again, a few ultimates available, but no equalizer. As that hasn't come up. No Enchanted Crystal Arrow, no Glacial Fissure. So FlyQuest feeling more agency and stepping up. Vulcan taking a bit of damage, and Rich trying to focus it, but the healing comes through. Daisy still setting on to the Dragon, and Dignitas zoning off FlyQuest. They don't have Vulcan to threaten with that hook anymore, so Dignitas feel a lot more comfortable hanging around this river.
Yeah, Prince is landing a lot of good poke there. Has the W evolve on the Kai'Sa. You know, he's just hitting those W's time and time and time again. Dignitas will get the Dragon. Santorin has to be a little bit careful on the exit, but he's going to be able to get out of there, and this time they got the kill onto Vulcan. The redemption really paying dividends for Dignitas in that fight. It is one of the advantages of having an Ivern on your team with these supporty builds, is the items are so cheap that he gets this 2-item power spike that are really efficient items very early on. So bringing a lot of power to that Dragon fight. You know, Dignitas have been chunked down quite a lot, and that redemption got a ton done. It was about 1,300 in healing from that one redemption. So that is really, really impactful in a fight like that.
Buy things that are cheaper and you feel rich faster.
True, yeah. I mean, it is really nice because junglers often in the pro play, you know, are going to be kind of unlimited income. In the early game, maybe you're hard farming, but especially come mid game, it really does slow down as you are more kind of tied to your support and trying to get vision and trying to play around that. Tomo does get tagged, but Prince doesn't have vision to really follow it in, look for the kill. He'd obviously win the 1v1, but if you don't know where everyone else is, it is risky. And we do see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow fishing, not going to be able to hit VicLa. Prince going to be going for Luden's build here, so committing more heavily to the poke. I know some people really are a big fan of this. We've been seeing more Rage Blade, but if you are just going to be more committed to playing long range, playing for that poke, the Luden's proc, of course, is very nice, and it does really kind of ramp up that damage and make it pretty annoying to deal with. But Kai'Sa is just like so high variance, because if you're hitting the W's, you're also resetting the cooldown, right? So it becomes really low cooldown, becomes really oppressive. But if you're able as a team to consistently avoid those, Kai'Sa poke doesn't really become a big deal.
But there are other people on FlyQuest's side that can become a big deal if they continue getting stronger, like Spica. We were just talking about Santorin being able to hit those items quicker because it's being more supportive, but now Spica's a couple items deep. 5 and 2 on the scoreboard. We were talking about the fact that not everyone has been able to make Viego work this split in the same way as others. I know that we saw a great Armeo Viego game, for instance, but it hasn't been consistently a carry. But in this case, Spica has been finding some good targets, has been able to get the ball rolling and get some gold into his pockets to make him effective.
And Viego from ahead is really, really strong because it's so much about having the upfront damage, being able to take these duels, being able to get those resets where he can really pop off in a fight. So I do think, you know, he's in a pretty good spot. I also like the fact that Vulcan is going lock at this game. Both supports actually going lock at this game. We see a lot of kind of these other options, but I do think especially against Rumble when there's heavy AoE damage, Locket is just a must to me.
Spica's a lurkin. Dignitas making sure to move the unit. They land the arrow onto Annie, follow up with the equalizer, and Jensen's coming in with the teleport, but the burn is so good onto the FlyQuest mid laner. Dignitas almost about to get on Baron.
Oh no. Oh, okay. So this looks like it's a Dignitas pause, right? So you can see Santorin and Rich are talking there. I'm just inferring from what I'm seeing. It seems like it's an issue with Rich because he was pointing at his screen. Santorin immediately turned to him, was talking with him. So we'll see what the issue is going to be. And Rich actually DC'd. So I don't know if it was a pause after he DC'd or he paused and then DC'd to try to reconnect and fix something. So we'll let you guys know as soon as we do get any updates. But of course, the game spot is Spica was forced to flash there to get away from that enchanted crystal arrow. It did tag VicLa. He dies right by the Baron. We're post 20 minutes, and that means they can look for a Baron here. Spica also had to use his ultimate in retreat, so no flash, no ulti. If there's not a blast cone, he doesn't have a way into the pit, right? And that is going to be the difficulty here because they can look for that turn. But the good news, of course, for FlyQuest is that Equalizer was spent, Enchanted Crystal Arrow was spent. So there's not really a good turn from Dignitas off this Baron whatsoever. We are getting some ready calls in all chat from both teams, so I assume we are going to be unpausing here pretty quick.
It seems that it was a client crash, so just getting that back up and taken care of before getting into this Baron play that you're just talking about the different tools that are available on both sides, and that's going to be very important to track on how FlyQuest punishes Dignitas and not having these key ultimates. FlyQuest positioning Spica, Prince, and Vulcan, but one route onto Vulcan already escaped. Equalizer thrown on down, and another pop.
Okay, this time Prince paused the game, so I'm not sure what actually happened, but it was the other team that paused the game this time. So last time, you know, it was Rich DCing out, so they paused for him. This time Prince pauses, so we'll see exactly what the issue is. But this is I'm not gonna lie, these pauses suck, right? Like when it is a high intensity moment, it is very difficult to have that go into a pause, right? You can kind of lose the flow of how you're trying to play that out, but it does give you the unique opportunity to really think out, how do I want to play out these next couple minutes, and kind of plan out in your head and really think about the exact situation. So we can kind of try to take that moment and do just that for ourselves, right? Where it was, you know, Root Caller actually connecting over onto Vulcan. You know, we saw them try to engage off that. Diamond hit an ulti over onto Spica. FlyQuest is in full retreat. You know, Impact has TP'd in, but he didn't want to actually look for that fight because VicLa's still dead. So he arrived with the TP, immediately just pulled back. And, you know, it is FlyQuest on the run in that 4v5. But of course, there's not great hard engage at all from Dignitas. So it's unclear if Dignitas will be able to actually pin anyone down long enough to get a kill here.
You never know exactly how people will respond to that disruption of the flow and the adaptation to the information.
Can be a real tilter.
I think, I'm trying to remember, there was one pause, it was Revenge versus somebody, where the pause specifically did actually impact the way the play was played out. I think it was a 1v2, something of like that ended up turning.
And then we replayed it, and the person, like, it was a 1v2 kill, and then we replayed and they didn't get the kill, I think it was.
Yeah. So very, you know, a nice edge when it comes to some of these moments and what you're digesting versus going in it, or now I have a moment to think about it.
And my understanding is generally in short pauses, the teams aren't allowed to talk, but if the pause goes long, then they're, you know, told that they can start talking. So, you know, then that really does change the dynamic here a lot. Prince has pretty good positioning, and maybe we can even just kind of like look in game while we're in this pause and kind of just see what the scenario is, so everyone can kind of, you know, be up to date on where we are in game.
Yeah, I keep leaning over your shoulder
for when we go and pause. Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of just looking at myself. I can't move the screen around because it is paused, but you know, Prince has pretty good positioning over the wall. You know, it is this kind of 4 or 5 man chase in the river with Spica, Vulcan, and Impact, the members of FlyQuest in that river, running from the 5 members there of Dignitas. You know, it's 28 seconds until VicLa responds, so he's not going to be a part of this fight whatsoever. But Dignitas clearly didn't want to just hard commit to the Baron. They wanted to look for a turn. The question is just, can they actually get something here? Can they actually, you know, find that kill that they want to then return to the Baron?
Yep, all of this was off of the pressure they acquired by getting that mid kill or that mid laner kill onto VicLa when they landed the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. So how much can they pull off in this fight while he is still down? We'll find out.
Okay,
we see.
So I just got an update. So the original pause was the rich client DC. Then after the reconnect, there started to be some latency issues in game that teams are complaining about. So League Ops officials are actually watching back in Shadow Play, which is essentially the replay of the player's point of views to make sure that there actually was latency issues, that the pause was justified, and then we are going to be going forward from there. The players obviously have been given permission to stand up. I don't know if they're probably running to the washroom, running to grab a drink, something like that. But hopefully it won't take us too long to be able to get back into this one. And obviously is a really important game for both these teams. I think FlyQuest, even just for motivation, for being able to kind of have that, I don't know, a little bit of momentum moving into the final weeks here. They kind of need to get a win, right? Because they started 0-6. They went 3-0 last week. There's 0-2 this week. If you have another 0-3 week, this week, it is really, really rough, right? Like, you're not going to be finishing at the top of the table. You're just trying to scrape into the upper bracket at that point. And Dignitas would love to get a win here to move themselves back to 500, continue their winning ways against some of these lower ranked teams.
I love to think about the difference in expectations on these teams coming into summer and how that impacts where they are currently in the standings. Dignitas is coming off of a very disappointing spring in that 10th place position. They moved around a couple pieces and are trying to find this identity. So I think it's a wonderful surprise and resurgence when you see Rich come in, a player that people are waiting to see how he ends up working in this team, really work out and give a strength to the top side play of Dignitas, and shoring themselves into the middle of the pack is a good position to be. I loved seeing with Santorin when he came and joined the cast last week, and he had mentioned this a bit in the lounge as well, that feeling of, oh yeah, I do love to do the content, but it's always the it's reliant on how we do. So now we're winning and I get to be in the lounge and I get to be on the cast, and kind of the difference in feeling when you're in that winning position and mentality and moving forward.
Yeah.
And I know that FlyQuest, you can see the pressure coming in as a team where lots of high expectations across the board. Everyone had them in the top 3 of the league.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And some people had them as like, well, they had themselves as hard number 1, right? I remember at the beginning of the league.
Yeah, you had a little.
Prince was roasting me, like, just comedically, but kind of, saying like, oh, like, what's your problem? You don't have his number 1? Like, you must be sick. You should go to the hospital, right? So definitely not the kind of split that they were expecting, that anyone was expecting at all. But to touch on what you're talking about with Santorin, generally what happens for a lot of content is that players, after they lose, don't want to do content, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll invite a player from each team that's going to be playing, and then generally you take the player from the winning team because they're in a better mood. They're going to be, down to do some content, down to have some fun stuff. So since Dignitas was losing a lot in spring, probably every time he was reached out to, they would lose. So it'd probably be the player from the winning team that's doing the interview or the analyst desk or whatever. So, back to their winning ways a little bit here, though, in summer for Dignitas. And I think Santorin, at the start of the split, I do think he had still a bit of a rough start to summer, but I do think it has been picking up. I feel like his Poppy games have been looking really good. His Ivern game so far has been strong. So it's nice to see him returning back to form somewhat, because people really, even though they did so bad in spring, coming into spring, the expectations were still relatively high for Dignitas, because people were really thinking, myself included, that a team with a core of Santorin and Jensen, these guys who have been so good in the league for so long, surely are going to get some wins. Like, these guys alone are going to be able to carry them to quite a few wins, and it just didn't really work out that way. So obviously some changes have happened between then and now. The bot lane has changed out, the top lane has changed out, but I do think both Santorin and Jensen are having better splits as well individually.
Yeah, I, for one, am one of the pundits that believes in that duo, and seeing them rise to those expectations, a lot had on them, is a good look for Dignitas. But while we do wait for another update on the pause, we're going to send things over to the LCS Lounge.
Welcome back to the LCS Lounge. Unfortunately, we're waiting for the result from the pause. They investigate the latency report from both teams. One thing I think is super interesting right off the bat is we see FlyQuest going for something that kind of forces them to make plays early game in draft.
Yeah, that was interesting to me, because we were looking at their goal graphs before the game, and essentially,
not good.
All 11.
The prognosis was not good.
Their early game wasn't great. I still contend their early game is decent in their wins. If they're slightly ahead, they actually have a decent chance of winning the games.
Yeah.
But that's also because they were picking a lot of scaling. This game, it almost feels like that overcorrection of picking all early game instead of picking all scaling. Kai'Sa does scale decently, but like when you're going Blitz Kai'Sa, Annie, Renekton, Viego, it's just, it almost feels like they're kind of panicking for a win to say we just need a ton of go buttons because we have a problem going.
Yeah, and even then, I think, even
isn't that how it works?
That is pretty fair.
You know, you're not wrong, Jack.
I mean, I don't disagree. It's just a problem going.
And even there, I feel like the counter picks from Dignitas' side are just working phenomenally. For me, Rich had a great early game. And we've seen Rumble versus Renekton a few days in a row right now. I know you guys are looking at me. All right?
I almost sold my stock. I almost joined you.
You almost did, but I pushed you back. I did push you back.
I mean, you think it's probably more like the matchup.
Yeah, the matchup.
Yeah.
Well,
like Rumble for Renekton's kind of busted, no?
It's a little strong, let me tell you.
People get like Summit got a solo kill with it. Like, so
that's just kind of matchup.
That's how it goes, guys.
Yeah.
But no, like when we call it the replay here, it was a great solo kill that we ended up seeing here, and it was him just turning on his Q after Harpoon, knew he was just going to be in basically the in-range form, so your auto attack deals a lot more damage, and he has Ignite. Forgot to mention that point. He is playing for lane, and he just smashes impact on that one. So it was good to call out because oftentimes we see both sides of Rich. A, getting a solo kill within the lane, or getting solo killed because he's just he's a risk taker for this team.
Yep.
And he is the engine. He just goes, as Jat would say. And I thought that was a really positive thing for Dignitas. That's why they're really being able to find a lot of wins here. And even though they had two people go topside to get a kill on him, right when they're able to come back out of base, they go straight to Rift Trail because of the pressure that he has in lane, and they have just been doing well off the pick. These dragon fights have been working primarily because of how much damage Rumble is doing right now.
Yeah, and I got an update from production.
Oh, yeah?
Chrono break.
Boom.
To 22:36, I think is the time. They have the exact time. If I got that wrong, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to say 22:36. It was basically what happened.
It's at 33.
Is there was a pause when they resumed. Both teams had latency.
Yeah.
So instead of just starting it again and being like, everybody's going to be lagging for a bit, just deal with it, they're going to chrono break
Smart
to
decision.
that point right after Annie died, and hopefully that resolves. 22:33.
Yep.
That's the correct time. Thank you, graphics.
There it is.
Production will always be right if we're not.
Yeah. So we're just waiting for that to happen, then we'll get back to the game.
It's rewind time, y'all. Where's Will Smith at?
Let's pull in some clips from the LCS Vault.
I refuse to watch that movie. I refuse. I'm looking at the YouTube VOD. I'm just checking.
What are you checking?
What? Yeah.
Where 22:33 is. Like what?
It's
what
right
we're
after
going on.
Annie
You'll
died.
give an update. I'm sure they could pull it.
They could.
If we want to put more pressure on production to be right, I'm sure they could.
They're not going to pull me up.
Jet
What,
already told
22:30?
you. Do you not believe Jet? You just don't trust.
Yeah, you
your
don't think
coworker.
22:33 is the right time, Raz?
He's
No,
gonna go,
I know it's the right time. I
He's
just
gonna
want to
start
know.
like heckling the refs.
This is a
Raz
race.
is roaming
It's between-
backstage right now.
It's between production to show us the lead up to the pause where the chrono breaking to, and Raz to check it. Who can be faster?
We'll see. My bet is production.
Well, we
Although
also.
Raz already
The
has
sad reality is, as you've mentioned.
Oh, here it is.
Look at that fast
Production
they are.
You lose.
They're so
I won.
much
I was
better
about to
than you.
deliver the news. Okay, Annie is dead. I'm just gonna spoil it for you guys. I'm just gonna spoil it for you. He is dead, and that's where we're going from.
Yeah, so Annie dies.
So 22:33. So that will include the death here.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
As newsman Raz has.
This is also right where Rich paused essentially like immediately after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct?
So, yeah.
So,
they
yeah,
paused
that
to
makes
do.
sense.
I actually don't remember what the first pause was for. I think I got that update. But basically, what happened is
He
there was.
DC'd.
Oh yeah.
Client crashed.
Rich's client crashed.
Yeah.
So they paused. And then when they restarted, everyone was lagging. And you can see
This is a Baron setup.
This is like a rather important point in the game where
Yes.
you don't want everyone in the game lagging. So it's a good chrono break.
You don't normally want people lagging, but if they're going to be lagging, please don't do it in a 4v5 Baron setup without your
Yeah.
mid laner, where everyone's just trying to do like a smite fight probably or some
Yeah.
shenanigans.
Let's
gonna
actually.
happen.
Okay. I love that we have this up.
Yeah,
Because
What's
this
gonna
is
happen next?
This is a pretty
like
good neutral
quiz
ball state.
question.
That's what they always
Yeah.
talk about. Is like it's a neutral ball state. Like
I wish we could draw over it.
We probably could.
I mean, if you want to just keep throwing things on, can we
I
get
know.
this in the telestrator behind us, and then we'll.
Oh no, they're updating the completion to 70%.
Yeah, I actually
Oh my
love
God, we have
this. This
loading
is really
bar?
cool.
Okay, but
I
let's
love
actually
it.
let's talk through this. It's 22 minutes into the game.
Okay.
Diggs Baron is
Good.
pretty good. Yeah, Ashe, Jayce, both pretty good DPS. Even Rumble, but Rumble using his cooldowns means he's less there for the fight.
They don't have much. They don't have their easy turn tools. Ash arrow down.
Prince's ult is up pretty soon. Impact's ult is up pretty.
Looks like Braum's, yeah.
Spica has no ult though to get into the pit easily with Viego.
I think
without flash.
And the hard engage from Dig is not very good without Rumble ult. I don't think they can do this Baron. That's my call.
All
You can draw on the telescope.
Oh, we can do it.
All right, we're gonna go.
All right, a lot of people going up.
Oh, yeah.
Don't everyone stand up at the same time,
We're
guys.
all gonna stand
What
up
are
at
you
the
gonna
same time. I'm gonna draw spica here. He's the one I'm gonna draw my eye to.
Okay.
Oh, it's not on that program yet. I guess when they cut to us. But
we'll look like
spica
slobs.
draws my eye because he lost his ult surviving that Ashe arrow and
it's
his
on the screen.
flash. Oh, there you
There
go.
it is.
Sick.
Yeah.
So without any of these things up, he's over the backside of the wall. He's gonna have to come group up with his team and just try and brute force through like Daisy and Braum and stuff.
Yeah.
Braum's getting his ulti back up, by the way. So.
Yeah, for sure. So
No
like,
Ashe Arrow, no Rumble ult, though.
so the question is, do they do enough damage to Baron so that Spica's forced to go in, or are they going to get chunked by Baron and AoE'd and like these kinds of things? That's usually the like push and pull that you're going to see.
The other thing I'm looking at is this. Woo! Because we
Teleport
see,
up,
Yeah, Impact is gonna back, and then
I need great
right?
wards
He's
for
backing,
him.
right?
Yeah,
not ready yet.
he's backing.
So it's like where do we think would be the best
Minion
place
wave
for him to
behind-
come in? Right here.
There's that, or if they want to take a flank, minion wave on the top lane.
I think he probably teleport. You see that control ward by the
Yeah.
Raptors? I think that's the spot where you TP.
oh, Raptors?
Oh, Raptors control
Raptors?
ward.
Oh, I was gonna say
Raptors
up here
control
is kind of your X factor if you really want to get crazy.
Yeah.
If you really want,
That's
so
what
like if
matters.
Dig is for some
Or
reason
the-
like hard
this is
committing
the-
for
this is
Baron,
the
you
one
do
that
that.
Jat wants. That's
But I
what
think you
Jat
just do the
wants.
safety because otherwise they might peel off. He gets Braum ulted, then because if they kill two, they can actually
Here's
think
what I
about
say.
doing Baron.
Give.
You haven't won a game this week. You go up here. You go up here and you pincer them and you hope Dig's turn is not clean and they get chunked by Baron and you try and win the game on the burger flip.
You TP up there, they're just all gonna run an
I
impact
mean,
and kill
yeah,
him.
he has ulti up.
Yeah.
They're gonna kill him.
No, you're gonna get him off Baron then.
No.
Momentarily.
What's that death timer on VicLa?
It's 41 seconds.
Yeah.
If you have both
VicLa's
solos,
out.
You're losing. You're
Yeah,
actually
But
losing.
if
VicLa's
you
out.
teleport up here, they're not going to be able to get up there and like, you're fine.
Okay, so do you think Dig can get Baron here?
I think Dig can get Baron
Do you
here.
think they should get Baron here?
I think you force it and see what happens. You don't have
That's
to.
not an
commit to the
answer.
force. No, wait, that's literally a shot call.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
they're gonna.
What are you
start-
talking about?
I
That's
think-
not an answer.
So
That's
I think
how
they're
you
literally
shot call
gonna
in the
do
game.
Baron until they get TP and then they're gonna back off.
Yeah, I think you get TP, you see what your health's at, you see if anyone walks too far forward. You're fishing with Daisy Qs, you're fishing with Braum Qs.
Oh,
you
you
have
mean
Braum
from
knocked-
Dig's perspective? Oh, I meant
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Flag perspective. They should not contest.
Well, Jat asked.
Well, you don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
Flash should even contest?
I don't think they should.
Wait, what?
So you're just giving
You're
Baron?
sacking Baron. Raz, that's how you don't pick up wins. Just sack Baron 22 minutes in after they use all their turn, like a bunch of their turns.
Yeah, let's walk up to the Braum and Daisy ulti'd Dignitas and see how this
So
goes.
we have votes. Hold on. I think you and
Yeah.
me are aligned. Actually, they start Baron.
Dig force, see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, but okay, and Raz thinks you just give Baron.
I think you just give.
I disagree with
think
Rez.
Yeah, dude, you're really
Okay.
gonna outscale him later after you sack the Baron.
You are completely short range.
No
You're
way I'm
walking
sacking
up
Baron.
against the
No
Braum
way you sack
Ivern.
the Baron here.
Okay.
People
okay.
tweeted
you're
us,
right.
pro
We'll see.
players listening right here,
Okay.
who should you
That's
sack
fine.
Baron here? We can get their opinions.
This was fun.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
a
We should-
surprisingly
I love
good
pauses.
time
We should
for a
shot call
pause.
more often.
Yeah, well, Casters can do it now. Sorry, guys. Take it away.
Like the analyst said, hey, pros on Twitter, if you want to get in on the conversation.
Definitely do not sack the Baron. I'm with everyone flaming Raz on this one. I think what we're gonna see is we're gonna see Impact TP to a safer ward than he did last time, and I think Dignitas are gonna try to turn off the Baron, and they're not gonna be able to find anything. I do think that FlyQuest made some small mistakes in their initial approach on this Baron. Vulcan walked up too close, got queued by Daisy. Impact TP to a dangerous ward, immediately had to use the slice and dice and retreat. I think those two things will be changed by FlyQuest out of this replay. So that is one of the advantages that they get. I do think they made slight mistakes. It's hard to know if they actually would have gotten chased down and punished for it. But my guess is that Impact TP is a little bit further away and that Vulcan does not walk up close enough to actually get queued by Ivern. And they just play it a little bit slower because you do have a 3-item or a 2.5-item, AP Kai'Sa, who can just be poking, right? Who can really be harassing. And if they hard commit to it, Impact can go in and really try to create some chaos in that pit. So I think definitely you will force out the TP from Impact, but I don't think they should really be able to get much more than that as long as FlyQuest play it well.
Yeah, and it does feel, as you're saying, like FlyQuest do just have a lot of intel they can gain by the way that engage ended up happening.
Yeah.
So getting a reset on that opportunity. Dignitas also making note of how much they can really grab for themselves just off of that single pick and perhaps having a safe retreat as a result. But, I mean, this is a pivotal point in terms of FlyQuest's ability to try to bring some control back in their favor.
And we have readies in chat, so all the players seem to be ready. So hopefully we are going to be kicking this off here pretty soon. It is always fun to, have those predictions come out, from the analyst lounge, as it were, to see exactly, oh, now there's I guess a mouse issue with Diamond, he said in chat. So I think we're now waiting for that, unfortunately. I guess when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, I also feel like in terms of that conversation on whether to sack the Baron, it makes sense to go against Raz, the rich hater, the one that whenever Dignitas is playing, you are supposed to go against Raz.
Yeah, absolutely. Raz is definitely the captain of the rich hating team.
I actually, there's a Dignitas jersey that I now own with my name on it because when Rich played Quinn, and I was like, okay, if he carries on Quinn, fine, I'll buy a Dignitas jersey. And then Dignitas did it, and they won the thing, and that just arrived yesterday. So I'll have to bring it in Rocket on their next victory, which could be today. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. The teams are bantering in chat. It's pretty funny. All chat can be pretty funny. They're just saying, imagine being the other team, sitting in the waiting room, nothing worse. Vulcan goes, I only care about me. They're pretty funny, just bantering back and forth. Watching the two teams fighting to not be 0-3. So it should be hopefully ready here pretty soon. I guess it's Santorin that was having some mouse issues that they are working on, but all the players are reconnected. All the players are ready to go besides him. So as soon as the mouse issues are fixed, we will be kicking it off.
If I'm on FlyQuest and I see my support say, I only care about me, I'm a little worried.
Supposed to die for the team.
Yeah, the noble sacrifice.
True.
Always trying to support your teammates.
Oh.
You can't do that.
We're getting readies again.
Okay.
So maybe this time the readies are actually ready.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
Or are they just ready to be ready?
They're ready for the next pause, is what they have been ready for. But the game is unpaused, so we are counting down. So we're going to be back in here in a second. Dignitas onto the Baron here. We'll see what the approach happens. Is it back going to TP? He's in base. He's finished his base. So this is what I'm wondering now. Will he TP to a safer ward? So he's going to TP to the same ward, but they haven't walked up and actually gotten queued by Daisy. So now Dignitas has to choose. Do they commit to the Baron?
Will they do so? Rich ventures forward, gets stunned up, knocked up, and more impact with Dominus activated, swings into the back line, and now Rich has fallen. So Dignitas retreating towards the top side, exhaust thrown onto impact. The acceleration gate makes for a nice way to escape.
Yeah, they are going to be able to get the Baron and get out. I'm actually pretty surprised that FlyQuest didn't commit more heavily to that fight with them in the pit. It was kind of like a little bit of like a half turn. I think a root collar connected and Rich clicked on the target, and that actually pulled him in range of getting the hook there. So I do think that was a little bit of a misclick. We saw Santorin hit 11th most all time now. So let's watch this one more time. I think that's what happened. I think a root collar connected, and then Daisy gets sent out off the root collar. Rich clicks it too, and then he gets hooked up. So they're getting this poke, but the Baron was just burned down very quickly. Yeah, root collar connects. Rich clicks it. That was an accident. I can pretty much guarantee you that was an accident. Daisy went out, and he goes out too. Unfortunately for him, dies instantly. And it's just going to be a full retreat for Dignitas, but they do get the Baron. They do get 4 members out alive. So honestly, really good for Dig. I didn't think they'd be able to claim it.
Yeah, I think that escape was really great from them. You want to keep as many with that buff as possible. So Rich being the only one sacrificed in that regard, and now bringing that pressure here across the mid lane. Of course, VicLa is back up and back and ready with the stun, trying to find a lurking angle if needed to keep Dignitas away. But the damage is oh so good on the turret, even dropping the equalizer to make sure they can put some work onto FlyQuest. Spica had to use the Heartbreaker, was worried about the lockdown that Dignitas could follow up with.
Yeah, gonna have to use that in retreat. Prince taking a shot blast back. They're trying to kill out Daisy. It does seem to be a big focus here for FlyQuest. Every time Daisy gets summoned, they're just trying to actually just burst it down and really reduce a lot of the power that the Ivern has. It is dead now. We see that FlyQuest are looking. VicLa lurking over the wall, does have his flash, but Dignitas were aware of it, so they pull back down, and it's just been Prince just poking and prodding non-stop, but it will be Dignitas having the Baron, moving the 3 dragons, so they will be on soul point now. One off that Mountain Soul is going to be a really big deal against a composition that relies pretty heavily on a lot of upfront damage, you know. Yes, there is poke from Kai'Sa, but any Viego, Renekton, all these champions, Blitzcrank, you're hooking someone in, you're trying to burst them down. Mountain Soul is going to make that much more difficult.
And here, past 25 minutes, over 1,000 gold in the lead for Dignitas. Just over 30 seconds to go on this Red Bull Baron buff. Bringing that pressure to the bot lane means that they get the tier 2 here. And that's a lot that they were able to siege off of this, because that soul point that they're putting themselves on, feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, Impact cancel his recall, but he's so low. If he goes in, I think he's just going to insta-die. So I don't think this is going to work, but it seems like they're down to flip the game here. VicLa's going to TP in, and this could be the final fight.
Looking for it. Impact gets stunned, so trying to retreat in the direction of the mid lane. Rich is over the wall, and Jensen trying to go for it, but FlyQuest is going in. Santorin marked low, has Tippers on his tail. Diamond right there in the bucket of multiple FlyQuest members. And Dignitas losing 2, traded for 1 as VicLa has also fallen.
Yeah, Prince was able to find the angle there into the back line. A huge fight from Prince. Is able to get in with that killer instinct, get in on top of Tomo, take him down. A massive team fight win for FlyQuest, because if they lose that, the game just ends. So it was really big. I mean, Impact was pushed out kind of as I expected, but he drew a fair bit of pressure. Jensen was chasing him out of the fight. They didn't have everyone together, and that opened up the opportunity for FlyQuest to win out on the other side, to dive into the back line. So we'll watch this one more time. Impact's so low as he's going in here, and you think he's just going to go down. They use the redemption again early to reset, but look at Jensen chasing him. Rich is over on the side, not with the squad, and they find the opportunity as the plasma is procced onto Tomo by VicLa. Prince gets the killer instinct into the back line. The bot lane had been kind of abandoned there as everyone was so distracted by Impact that they kind of forgot about the rest of the team.
And VicLa put in that work before he fell, getting that great engage alongside the rest of FlyQuest. So Dignitas were pushed off and unable to get that inhibitor in that bot lane. And now Impact spending some time trying to push that wave, because you can see that that turret for Dignitas bot is pretty weakened already, but they're going to go for the tier 2 here across mid. Spica lurking in his own jungle. FlyQuest have been attempting to find these collapsing angles whenever Dignitas step forward, to seeing if they overstay their welcome.
And that's absolutely what they're going to have to do, right? You know, as they push up towards the base, you're trying to maintain some semblance of defensive vision, find plays, find picks. VicLa, though, has been spotted, but it's Spica and him collapsing.
For drop down, Jensen falling into a lot of damage. Diamond coming with stand behind me, and you can see the healing coming from that supportive build of Santorin. And Dignitas, they do keep their mid laner safe, still holding on to the flash for Jensen. The FlyQuest making their stand in that moment and now going for some resets.
Yeah, they do proc that Hex Drinker there from Jensen, but had that to help them survive against the burst. And as Ivern arrives, you know, they have redemption. They have some shielding coming through from the Moonstone, the shields from the Ivern E as well. You know, Braum arrives. Everyone is there to kind of keep him safe. And it is really important because he's also holding a 550 gold bounty, so you definitely do not want to lose Jensen at this point. He is the strongest member on their team. And Dignitas just trying to continue pushing this game forward. FlyQuest up towards the top side of the map, trying to establish some vision here around the Baron. That is going to be spawning in about 25 seconds. A minute or so after that, we will get that soul fight potentially. So Prince just kind of hanging off to the side, playing in the side brush, trying to land as many Void Seekers as possible, soften up Dignitas for a potential fight, but they do have to be really careful because one lost fight this close to your base, this late in the game, it can just be over.
And Dignitas are attempting to maintain that vision on the outskirts of the Baron pit, though FlyQuest making work to try and clear it out. And I mean, FlyQuest, when you're looking at the recent moments of being able to make that stand in the team fights, if you can find a good angle from VicLa, find a good moment for Impact to be able to delay some of the onslaught of Dignitas. It's worked out once before to keep them at bay, but will it work out around a second Baron?
VicLa is not spotted, probably was spotted now as Santorin used the brush for a bit of reveal there, and they push him back. So they know Spica's on the top side, they know VicLa was up there. Will have his flashback momentarily. Diamond has been doing a good job just standing in front, blocking out Void Seekers, getting shields from that Ivern. It is obviously ideal though if you can just dodge it instead of blocking it, because it does make that cooldown that much longer. Prince looking like he's going towards death cap as well, so wants to commit more heavily to that AP style build. Vision has been reclaimed around that Baron by Dignitas. You can see a couple of these wards. They have multiple pink wards in this area. All of this defensive vision, though, is kind of there to try to keep their side of the jungle safe for FlyQuest. And it's FlyQuest to have vision down around this dragon first. They know they've got to be there first. They cannot afford to give up an easy soul. So it's going to be Daisy used to face check here, and they will look for the engage.
At the enchanted crystal arrow already thrown out, but wasn't able to land. Vulcan still going for the play of getting the Q onto Daisy. Try and eliminate some of that frontline possibility of Dignitas. VicLa sweeping out in the line brush, but we're back at it again, ahead of every
major objective, the crucial moments, we must be on the edge of our seats.
Yeah, right. As it's kind of building up to that crescendo, unfortunately into the pause again. So just looking at the game state, you know, it is 7,900 HP on that dragon. Dignitas are on it with multiple members. Vulcan has already had to flash out. He's pretty low. Impact has been chunked down. He's lost about 30-40% of his health from Rich, who was marking him on the side. But Impact, as well as VicLa, do have a potential flank angle. You know, Spica, Prince, and Vulcan are on the other side, kind of over by that blue buff and river area. They could look to move forward, but will be difficult if they don't time that right, because as I said, no flash on Vulcan. He's already really low. You know, Prince and Spica can't really start off the fight, so they kind of have to wait for that pincer to come in from the top. And I'm curious, you know, are they even going to try to commit to this? Because from the position that I'm looking at, it looks like a losing fight. But if you give over Soul, it's going to be really tough to come back.
Yep, and as you can see on the screen, investigating some of the mouse issues here for Santorin. So we'll get that shored up. But yeah, when we're looking at the advantages that Dignitas have created recently off of that Baron, putting themselves on a Soul point, also asserting that pressure to clear out some of the turrets to open up these inhibitors. If they can get themselves a good buff and a good push, that could be the game ender for FlyQuest. They need to offset that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough, right? If you give up Soul, then Baron is there as well. It's going to be really difficult. I have some Dignitas fans there in the crowd cheering him on. And, you know, it's going to be up to Spica and Prince. Those are the guys really with all the gold on the FlyQuest side. You know, just looking in at the gold leads. Prince, second richest in the game. Jensen is sitting at number 1, but Prince is only a couple hundred gold behind him. He's about 2,000 ahead of Tomo. So Prince is really fed. And Spica's pretty damn strong as well. So there are going to be opportunities if they can kind of create that perfect fight for Prince. But it's really tough, I feel like, when your flanks are getting marked and, you know, Prince doesn't have an easy way into that fight because, you know, if he goes in first or he goes in early, he's just going to get burst down.
And less protection available to him because of how Vulcan did have to flash away and into that bot side jungle over the wall.
There's also, you know, the kind of advantage of having triple stopwatch right now.
Yeah.
For Dignitas. There's a stopwatch on Rumble, there's a stopwatch on Jayce, and there's a stopwatch on Tomo. So, you know, even if you're trying to go for that 100-0 play where you killer and sync in the backline, stopwatch can buy time for them to be able to collapse, to be able to peel. So we'll see, you know, if Impact and VicLa can really make it happen on the flank, because I think if they can set up Spica and Prince, there is an angle to win here. Are getting readies in chat once again. We have gotten them from FlyQuest, so we're just waiting for Dignitas. We'll see if they are ready to go, and then we will be back into the game here on this dragon that could be that Mountain Soul for Dignitas.
A pivotal moment, a tool that could be all Dignitas needs to end the game if it goes in their favor. Dig still on the dragon. Vulcan making his way from Prince, or with Prince over from the jungle, but takes a lot of poke. Equalizer thrown down. Impact going on to Rich, but that's one stopwatch right there. Stunned over the wall. Spica has left the building. Vulcan eliminated. VicLa popping his watch, but Jensen going for the slaughter. Dignitas, they claim the soul. A triple kill for Jensen. Going in pursuit for more. The Quadra gets it. Dignitas up on top in the fight.
They're hunting. They want to get him the Penta. They see Spica, but Spica is running for the hills.
Denying it. He knows what he's doing, but Jensen still sticking on Spica. Dignitas is going to go try to end the game. I see a world where they just kind of hold it at the Nexus as well.
Oh, wait, he's waiting for him. He gave it to him.
He followed up. He handed it over. Penta kill for Jensen. What a weird way to end it. But just in time for Dignitas to end the game. Jensen teleporting into the Nexus to be rejoined with his team and celebrate the ace in Penta.
Yeah, he waited for him. He gave him the Penta at the end. Spica could have kept running. He gives it over. Dignitas get the win. Jayce Penta for Jensen here. Only his 6th time in his career he plays the champion. Had a great game on it. You know, even before that final fight, was the strongest member of the team. And Dignitas back to their winning ways. Able to move here to 6-6 after some defeats to the teams at the top of the table. They handle business here against FlyQuest. who's now faced with another 0-3 week. But I like the draft. I like the play here from Dignitas, showing some flexibility, bringing out some different picks. It's the Rumble with the Ignite, bullying out Impact in the top lane on the Renekton. It's the Ivern for Santorin, really suiting him in his playstyle, that kind of facilitation style that he's been so good at. We've seen him do it on the Poppy. We've seen him do it on those tanks for years. And the Ivern really looked good today. Jensen bringing out Jayce, something that's pretty different for him and looking really good on it. So, across the board, a solid game here for Dignitas, and they can be really happy about how they're ending up this week.
Yeah, a really good look for them, that's for sure. And seeing Jensen on picks we're not as used to from him perform so well is going to give Dignitas a lot more opportunity in the games to come.
Yeah, so we can watch this one more time. This is just a really tough fight. I talked about it in the pause, but it's kind of just such a winning position for Dignitas because Impact has been fully marked. Rich is bullying out Impact. You can see the equalizers dropped onto Vulcan. VicLa flashes in, but Cleanse is there for Tomo. Santorin shields him up. Redemption comes down. There's just no way that you can solo out a carry 100-0 unless you're monster fed on Annie from that position, because with the Enchanter behind him, Tomo's never really in danger. Prince cannot follow in. Jensen chases in after him, gets it to the skies, hammer form onto the minions, lands the slow onto him, finds the Quadra, and then Spica, he's feeling generous. He waits for him. He gives it to him. That's the Penta secured for Jensen on the Jayce.
Nice play, Spica. Nice.
I don't know where I stand on that, because it's like Pentas kind of have to be earned, right? It was a really good Quadra. It was a sus Penta.
Yeah. I feel like
Quadra was clean. The Quadra was deserved. The Penta, I'll let you be the judge.
he just wanted there to be a nice flashy moment to end this, to walk away with that FlyQuest can be happy about for Jensen in celebration. Oh, what a game, what a game. A reminder, though, to everyone that Fantasy LCS is happening over on Sleeper. Make sure you lock in your picks and bans for next week's games if you want to top your league. But for now, we are joining Raz and Jensen for our stage for our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you and congratulations, Jensen, on the win and the pentakill. What the hell? Like, you have now been on winning ways. Last split, we don't have to think about that. This split, you now are 6-6 going into the last 2 weeks of the split. New teammates, got that penta. Just tell me how it feels. I think people haven't heard from you in a while.
I mean, being 6-6 is like, it's like middle of the pack, right? But it's definitely an improvement from last split, so I definitely can't complain about that. But I mean, things are starting to go better. I mean, I think we still have a long way to go. I mean, we went 1-2 this week, which is not ideal, of course, but you know, we're shaping up for playoffs.
Yeah, I feel like the team identity is like you guys are pretty scrappy. You guys have picked up pretty big wins. 2-0 over FlyQuest, sure. The win over Team Liquid. Like, you guys are taking up wins versus some of the better teams. But like, what do you feel like with the next 2 weeks coming up that you guys feel like you need to kind of work on? Just kind of either be it yourself or just like as a team as a whole.
I mean, I think right now we're just making too many mistakes in the early game and we're falling behind a lot when I feel like we generally tend to create pretty big leads. So we need to like sharpen up our early game and not get caught out mid game as much as we are, because I think we have good fundamentals. So as long as we can play the game like on our terms and we don't make too many mistakes, I think we can make things happen.
That sounds good to me. How about yourself? Because something I love learning about players is like some of their own personal goals, either as a teammate or just within the game, right? Something I feel like you have always been really growth oriented. So something about yourself, like tell me what you've been working on.
I mean, as for my own personal self, I think I'm just learning how to become more human. I think I've been a pro player my whole life, my early teens. So yeah. I didn't really know how life functioned too well. So I think I'm just learning a lot about life. That's for me, like personally. And then like, you know, when it comes to the game, I think I'm just trying to work on cleaning up my mistakes as much as possible and trying to play a few more champions than just, you know, falling back to Orianna Azir every game, because that gets a bit boring. But yeah, I mean, I'm having fun and just trying to go with the flow.
Actually, why not just talk about that? It feels like you guys have been one of the more creative teams. Sure, you guys have Rich, who's just willing to play anything. Today it was Rumble with Ignite Flash, that's fine, but we saw the Quinn, we saw the Alawi, you're picking up the Jayce, and of course your teammate with Ivern. I feel like you guys have been much more creative. It's easier when you guys are playing well, but just tell me more about like how that has been with you guys. You don't have to showcase anything. You don't have to show your hands, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think the meta right now is just... It's all over the place. Like, you can kind of play whatever you want, I think. Unfortunately, mages are a bit weak right now, so hopefully by playoffs, Riot will buff mages.
That's a message.
So that I can win. Otherwise, I'll have to play these champs again. But yeah, I mean, I think we're just trying to be as versatile as possible during the regular season, and then, you know, see what happens by playoffs.
Sounds good to me. Any last messages of the fans out there?
I mean, it's boring to say thank you guys for supporting me, but I don't really know what else to say. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys will continue to support me, and see you guys in playoffs, I guess.
There it is! All right, thanks a lot, Jensen. Once again, congratulations on the win, brother.
Thank you.
I'm going to be going to a break after this one. Thank you, guys.
Spica's lurking. Dignitas making sure to move as a unit. They land the arrow onto Annie, follow up with the equalizer, and Jensen's coming in with the teleport, but the burn is so good onto the FlyQuest mid laner. Impact going on to Rich, but that's one stopwatch right there. Stunned over the wall. Spica has left the building. Vulcan eliminated. VicLa popping his watch, but Jensen going for the slaughter. Dignitas, they claim the soul. A triple kill for Jensen. Going in